homework 5, we just gave you the bottom of the pool and the sky, and you need to show the reflections of these, or refraction of these two. But the original intention was to use the whole environment of box mapping, and that gives you the walls around you as well. And if you're using, it's less sophisticated in WebGL, in OpenGL, you just specify it as a box, and then once you're looking at some direction, you'll see what are the walls that looks at this direction. And an example where you can download stunning, beautiful box mapping is coming from I butcher it if I try to say it, but you can get the Sistine Chapel already as if you want. It might be controversial, it might be, but if you're cool with the picture, please. You can download it as the box that is the 6 faces of the box, top, bottom, 4 skies, and then your pool will look nicer in this case, if you want. And yeah, and this file is available, just Google for it. So that's about homework 4. Homework 5, I didn't decide yet. Maybe it would be HDR, maybe it would be the pool again with some animation. The animation of the water where more involved movement of the water, of the liquid, can happen. For example, it can behave like a cloth or like spring embedding when particles move other particles. We'll talk about it in graphics. Or it can be debating, show me hands please if you have a machine with GPU at home. That is, if I'll ask you to actually do something with that requires GPU or NVIDIA. Not everybody, so probably not, or maybe I'll suggest it as optional. Like I was debating about downloading, say, the NERF, but it will not be the homework for everybody, but you want play with NERF. Not the game gun thing, the NERF, neural radiance, etc. You can download from NVIDIA the library for it, and then just start playing if you want. So maybe that will be the homework. You'll suggest that that's the homework 6 that you wanted. Probably I'll get to. But you'll have also other options that doesn't require you to have a chunky GPU at home. Okay, let's see that we are alive after last meeting. This is the formula of a curve. Which curve is this? Yes, 4 polynomials as input, H00, H01, H10, H11. Which curve is this that accepts from us 2 points? Accepts from us 2 points. And 2 vectors, and create a curve that tries to fit to it. discussed only 4 options, B-spline. It's not Chuthul-Rom, it's not, you quote me after. Bezier, it's not. Hermite. Okay. There's one that takes the two that takes two that takes the points A and B and the vector VA, VB, and find a curve that starts at A and in B, and its original direction is VA, user specified parameter, its end direction is VB, another user specified parameter, just a vector. Just to see that people are alive. Can you tell me, please, so this is a function gamma of t, right? We think about a fly that fly around from A to B along this curve, and at every point t in time between 0 and 1, this fly is in one of these points. Just as a sanity check, what is gamma at Fs at 0.3? Talk between yourself before you are telling me. Some of you will know it immediately, some will. And remind you that the values of A, B, and the vectors, it can be in 1D, 2D, 3D, anywhere you want. No constraint. But let's say that they are in 2D. Yeah, so take a minute, talk, get a consensus yourself. Okay, from those who do participate, answer?
Well, we expanded the discussion group 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and we thought that you need the vectors to find where the gamma point 3 is.
So, no, it's a point.
Yeah, it's a point.
It's a, which is how do I know its coordinates? Because this form, it's easy to get confused. I'm speaking firsthand to get
confused.
So,
I can expand the discussion group.
And it's even more confusing when I'll show you these graphs and tell you that these graphs, A0, 0, etc., are related somehow to the curve, but how are these related? Is a curve similar? Is a curve gamma is anywhere similar to any of these curves? Hint, absolutely not. These are the weight functions that I assign to them. So what is the x coordinate of gamma? 0.3. So these are just the weight function. Tell me how important.
Is it like 30% of the way from A to B?
Not necessarily. I just need a formula, and the formula would be, in this case, look at these four polynomials, A0, 0, A0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Each of them ask what is its value at 0.3. And now we are taking a point for which this point would be first a dot x times age 0, 0 at 0.3. Right? The A, if I ask about the x coordinate, assume that A is a point, so age 0.3 plus B times age, B dot x B dot x at age 0, 1 of 0.3 plus that's something that the user told me about. What is this vector? So assume that it starts from 0, 0, so it just shift the whole thing in some direction because that's a vector, and it takes this vector times and give it a weight of age 1, 0 at 0.3, and the same thing for this one. Wait, what about this vector? This vector lives in 2D, so I take this vector, and from this vector, I actually take VA, its x value. Think about it as a point. Okay, so that's for the x, I just look at the x value of all these guys. For the y, I just look at the y value of all these guys. Yeah.
Just to be clear, VA itself is one vector independent of A, which is the vector that points to A.
I can move T, where I can move A to any point, and I can move VA to any point, and they are unrelated. And that's where we said that Chuthul-Rom said that it's too much freedom for most applications, so they are trying to correlate one to each other, at least as a first guess. What is the velocity of this fly that goes along our curve? Then I ask it, t equal 0.3. And we'll talk a bit more about velocities and such. And when we talk about animation, we mentioned I need curves both to model surfaces and other shape in 3D, and or to model how a particle, person, animal will move along a curve. And doing this curve to specify something that actually moves in time. So which expression indicates a velocity? So how do I measure the velocity in general? I'll take delta t that is very small, and I am looking at gamma of t plus delta t, this is the location, minus gamma of t, this is the location as well. So along the curve, this is gamma of t plus delta t. This is gamma of t. And I'm asking what is this vector that takes me from here to here, or essentially what's the length of this vector, and normalize it all by delta t, which in our case boils down to a much nicer expression. It is a times help. I'm taking the derivative of all these guys. I'm actually not asking about the vector of velocity. I want to know it's both the length of the vector as well as it's the length of the vector as well as the direction of the vector, which direction the particle moves. And as delta t becoming smaller and smaller, 2 points along the curve becoming smaller and smaller, I'm getting just a tangent. But what's the expression that describes it? That's to write this expression is a bit tedious.
The derivative, I don't know if there's like a derivative
It's
property of
a times
h double
h prime
prime
of 0, 0 of t plus b times h prime derivative of time at h 0, 1 plus va h prime of 1, 0 and vb h 1 prime. So, and now I remind you how I'm building a spline out of these curves. In this spline, there is only 2 segments, but I can add more segments, as many as I want. And remind you, I'd like to keep each segment simple in the sense that the polynomial that I'll use will be at degree 3 at most. So VA indicates the direction where I start, and that's also the velocity that I start. That's where I start moving. How long it is the absolute value of the original velocity that I start. At B, the vector VB indicates at which direction should I finish the first segment, at which direction, what is my vector velocity, at which I finished my first segment, as well as at which direction, how do I get the second curve? I'll remind you, to get the second curve, we are going back to this expression, except that instead of A and B, every time that you have A, you write B instead. C is replaced to the point C, VC, where I end. Instead of VA, it would be VB, that is, I start at VB, and I end at VC, vector in C. And I can control the vector VB, specifying the velocity and the direction at which I end the first curve and at which I start the second curve. Guarantees that the curve will be continuous and smooth. And so you have a B-spline here that consists of 2 curves. First Hermite curve, second Hermite curve. For each one, for the first I have 2 parameters. For the second I have, for the first I have 4 parameters, A, B, VA, VB, the vectors. For the second I have 4 parameters as well, B, C, VB, VC, and I can change all of them. Altogether, VB is common. B and VB are common to the first and the second. And if I add another one, then C and VC will be common to the next segment as well. So it guarantees continuity, it guarantees smooth. It will mean that I will not change my speed when I'm moving from one segment to another, me being the fly. Now, what can you say? Which expression corresponds to acceleration at B? Do I know that the acceleration will not change? What is the acceleration of gamma? Acceleration of gamma is?
It's just a second derivative of
It's a second derivative. So gamma prime prime of t would be a times a, let's do it in red, double prime, double prime, double prime, double prime. And maybe you care about it. Maybe you want a smooth enough motion so you wouldn't notice that even though the velocity is the same, the acceleration at B might be different. And maybe you do want to have the same acceleration. So you can build the spline I wonder what notation did you use in high school or whenever you used calculus. B minus meaning derivative, but the derivative when I'm going from the left side, B plus the derivative when I'm getting from the left side. So I can control the derivative like this, and I still have the degree of freedom, notice. I can still take this VB and just, as long as it's equal, I can put it anywhere I want. Or I can also specify that gamma double prime of B equals gamma of B minus equal gamma double prime of B plus, implying that the acceleration at B is the same. But now I lose my degree of freedom. If I want both this condition, then once I told you what is a first curve, then I also want to tell you what is the acceleration right here. I need one more parameter. But I want to tell you what is the velocity and the acceleration. It's the first segment. It will uniquely determine the second segment. I need to tell you where is B, but I don't have any control about the tangent, the velocity of B. If I want the second degree of the second level of continuity, the acceleration would be the same. And that will determine the next segment and the next segment, and so on. It's not hard to find it, it's just linear equation of systems, but you can make it a really smooth curve with fewer degrees of freedom. Now, when we're talking about Hermite curves, I showed you these Hermite curves, H00, H01. Remember, what was relevant for H00 and H01? They are the two guys that at t equals 0, out of all the four functions, that's the only one that equals to 1, and all the other ones are 0. And at h equals 1, A01 is the only one that equals to 1, and the other ones equals to 0. Meaning that in this whole expression, I'm sure that I start at A, and I'm sure that I end at B. Because the addition of VA, what multiply, VA is 0 at t equals 0, and it's also 0 at t equals 1. So my starting and ending point must be A and B. But these are these two guys. And now there are the other two guys that they all summarize in this table that we have. As I said, it's not the highest or the coolest of the material. Sorry, I use my sticks. Oh. So, just to read this table, A00, what does it equal to at t equals 0? A00 equals 1, the other guys equal 0. Each one of the age I, age prime at t equal 1, for age 00, it's 0, age 01, it's 0, 0, and the only one that at t equal 1 equal 1 is 1. Now, okay, so you can read this table, and the way that these polynomials were calculated, and again, no expectation that you'll all remember it, is what do I expect from, say, age 00 to be? So what you saw here is what Hermite wanted the four polynomials to satisfy. The first one needs to be equal to 1 at t equal 0. It should be 0 at equal 1, and so on. For its derivatives should be 0 both at the beginning and at the end. Start, showed you this graph. It starts at t equals 0. It starts when it's flat, doesn't add anything, and at t equal 1, at t equal 1, it ends again when it's flat. Derivative is 0. I will fly here, just how do I define the spline, by the way? I'll just say that for t between smaller than 1, between 0 and 1, I'm on the first curve. For t larger than 1, but smaller than 2, I'm on the second one, and so on. I can build and use the same function, a00, a01, needs to be constructed only once. But how do I calculate that age 00 is this friendly expression? What do I need from age 00? It is at cubed, because it's polynomial of degree cube, plus bt squared, plus ct, plus d. That's my polynomial. What do I need for it to satisfy? So age 00 at 0 should be, remember, but that was my spec. Age 00 at t equals 0 must be, I want it to be 1, to give weight for 1, implying that whatever at t equals 0, all these expressions, this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, d is the only non-zero, implying that d must be 1. That. Now, age 00 at 1 should be 0, that's a requirement, which means that a times 1 cube plus b times 1 cube plus c times 1 plus D, which we know that is 1, equals 0. So now I have one constraint about ABC. And where do I get the other constraint? I know that H prime of 0, 0 would be, help? What happened to the 3? 3a t squared plus 2bt plus c, that h prime. So at t equal 0, at 0, 0, at t equal 0, it should be 0, implying that c must be 0. So 3a, and at t equal 1, we know it's also 0. So 3a times 1 plus 2b equal, should be 0 as well. That's just what happens at t equal 1. It's not very fascinating or cool. It's just to explain to you how did we get to know that this is the right polynomial, because it needs to satisfy this condition for H0, 0, and equally exciting, the condition for the other three polynomials. Okay, so what did we study? We saw how did we get to these polynomials. We saw how we moved to define these polynomials, how we link them. We talked about splines, Hermite splines. So we talked about Hermite splines in relationship to velocity, so that we can make the splines even more continuous at the endpoint, like that we are sure that the velocity is the same for these two curves at B, but we can even make sure that the acceleration is the same for these two curves at B, but then we are losing other degrees of freedom. So we can build more of these curves. Okay, so far for Hermite, that there is other ways to concatenate it, to make a Hermite splines. Remind you the term Bsplines refers to one part of spline, and the term spline in general says is either Chuthul-Rom or Hermite or Bezier, where we take one segment and add another one, glue one segment, but it's not a straight line segment, it's a cubic segment. Okay, that's one thing that I thought that was getting back to. Another thing that I wanted to get back to is for the Bezier curve. Bezier curve, we said we have four control points, and they are not equally important. We have A and B that the Bezier needs to start and end with, and we have A prime and B prime that suggest what is the direction that the curve starts and ends with, and we also said that the whole curve, or the segment of the curve, is in the convex hull of these four guys. Remember, for convex hull of these four guys, like binding the smallest polygons that contain these four guys, putting a rubber band around these four guys and let it snap. And we can create splines using Bezier in the same way that we created them using Hermite. Take the first segment of Bezier. It needs to start and end at A1 and A2, and the other two control points are A prime and A double prime. And their impact is that if I'm pulling or pushing them, they are pulling or pushing the segment itself. And it might affect this segment, but it might affect the next segment playing with A2, with A1 and A2. But all this effect is locally. Same goes for B-spline later. You're moving a control point. The changes you are making are only for 1, 2, 3, 4 control points, but not propagate around the whole curve. Okay, so this is a Bezier spline consisting of 3 Bezier curves, each one, once again, polynomials, and each one is inside the convex hull. And I thought that I'll show you how to create the convex. How do I prove that this is indeed the convex hull? So again, we have 4 polynomials. In this case, it's called the Bernstein polynomials. The way that, by the way, Bezier suggested to create these curves was very different and very elegant, but we don't have time to. Bernstein said, take B0 of t times, if I have the point A and B and A prime, B prime as a control point, then what did we say about the Bezier? It starts at A, it will end at B, and it will be somewhere in the, and A prime and B prime can pull or push this curve. So to represent gamma of t in this case, it would be A times B0 of t plus B times B3 of t plus A prime B1 of t plus B prime B2 of t. This is B for Bernstein. And here are the graph of these 4 guys, and I give you again the same warning. This curve lives in a very different place than this place. These curves. This curve lives in the world of x direction is a key, specifies a time, and the y direction is a weight that I'm giving to each feature in the world that the actual curve lives in. Where does the curve lives in? In 2 or 3 or later dimensions. This is depending on where did I place the point A, B, C, A, B, A prime, B prime, and how much weight I give to each one of them. So here are the 4 polynomials. You see that once again, only one of them equal to 1 at t equal 1. Only one of them, at t equals 0, only one of them equal to 1. At t equal 1, only one of them equals to 1. The other one are 0. But I want to convince you that that's convex combination of the 4 points A, B, A prime, B prime. What is convex combination? Somebody from that side of the room. Convex combination of points, or convex combination of weights. When can I say that weights are in convex combination?
When their sum is 1.
The sum is 1 and they are all positive. Proof by example. Here are these 2 points. I let T TA plus 1 minus TB. These 2 weights sums up to 1. When T, they are both positive, I'm at a point between A and B. If I take T equals minus 1, and then this would be 2 roughly, then I'll be at a point somewhere outside this segment. Not in the convex hull, but so just summing up that there are 1 is not enough. I also need that they are all positive. Now, look at the formula of Bernstein polynomials. Why does it work? Why does it give me this graph? Doesn't matter right now. It is sigma of t to the I 1 minus t to the 3 minus I equals 0, 1, 2, 3. times what this is, binomial coefficient. How many subset of 2 or 3 or 0 elements you can take from 3 different kits. Familiar to everybody? Binomial coefficient, right here, that suddenly pops up. If I'm asking, I have the items A, B, C, D, E, F. I have 6 items over here. I want to ask how many subsets of 3 letters could I generate from these 6. And now subset I need to define, to ask, is A, B a legit subset? Up to you, but now when I'll count it, I'll say without repetition. And you can ask the next question, do I count ABC different than BCA? Because it's the same letters, just in different order. So I'll say without repetition, and the order does not matter. And the answer is that it's 3 choose 6, giving you 6 factorial divided by 3 factorial, 3 factorial. But binomial coefficient. And how come they are relevant here? Because if I write what is A plus B, A and B are 2 different letters, A plus B to the power n is, help, sigma of A I times B to the n minus I times, how many times can I generate, when I expand this expression, how many times can I generate A squared B to the 4th? How many times will it appear? It will appear 6, I choose 6, many values. Okay, but I want to convince you that for every time, the sum of all these polynomials sum up to 1, that it's a convex combination. And why is this? Because let's say I take some time t, and let's evaluate what is 1 to the power 3. 1 to the power 3 is 1, I think, but I will write it in a complicated way as t plus 1 minus t, all of it to the power 3. And one of these terms is A, and one of these terms is B. And this would be sigma of 3 choose I, t to the I, 1 minus t, 3 minus I. These are the 4 terms that have I here goes from 0, 1 to 3. So I'm summing up for some value t, and summing up these 4 values. All of them are positive, and they always sum up to 1. Conclusion, for every point along the curve, you're always inside the convex hull. So it gives you a good feeling if you change the control point, where will the new curve will arrange itself. Yes, sir?
Why would A plus B and have a 6 in it? The summation?
Here, because A, B, C, D, E, F, so I took 6 later. Yeah.
No, the summation.
Yeah, that would be N. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, in general, it would be N.
so you have A plus B and then.
Yeah. Agree? I think that it's cute, right? we are going to write 1 to the power 3 in a very complicated way, and it turns out to just be the sum of the Bernstein polynomial at T. What are Bernstein polynomial at T? How much weight, how importance do I give to each one of the 4 points? T equals almost 0. P0 have all the weights in the world very close to 1. Everybody else is completely marginalized. Everybody else has weight of 0 very close to 0. T equal 1, P3 has all the weight in the world, and the other points are marginalized. And as you're moving in T, each one changes its value. Okay, that's what I wanted to add to these curves. Yeah, okay, let's move from curves to surfaces. Like we mentioned, 2 applications of these curves. One is for animation, we care about movement in time. Another one is we want to describe the skin of a shape that lives in 3D. So let's start by bilinear patches. Now all these surfaces will be parameterized by 2 values, u and v. Right? If it's 1-dimension curve, then I just need t or u to describe where I am along this curve. If I'm on a surface, then I need 2 numbers, and since x, y, and z are taken for other applications, I'll use u and v. The same u and v, by the way, that we are using when we are doing texture mapping, like mapping the texture into a shape, not necessarily triangle. We are matching UV coordinate system between the textures. Bilinear patches. Let's do this. Bilinear patches. I have 4 points. P1's should I take? You can check it ahead of time, and that's a sphere. So, let's see. So bilinear patches. It's also GeoGebra, but I have 4 points. P10, P11, P00, P01. Sorry for the poor state. And I'm going to describe a surface written as follows: 1 minus u minus 1 minus v, P00 plus, well, you need to write to read all the way up to uv P11. Let's play with this surface. Now, and obviously I'm not, the world doesn't end in one such patch. I'm preparing Lego bricks from which I can describe the more complicated surfaces. And I want the surfaces to be nice and continuous and smooth and not to have holes and so on. So we have 1 minus u, 1 minus v, P00 plus 1 minus uv, P01 plus u1 minus v. What is this? P10 plus uv, the last point, P11. And my question for you is, if you fix u to be 0 and only change v. Fix u to be 0 and change only v. What do I get in this case? u equals 0, so this guy dies because it has, sorry, u equals 0, so here I have u, it dies, here I have u, so u equals 0, it dies, and you are left with, we said u equals 0 with 1 minus v p00 plus v from here, v, because 1 minus u, 1 minus 0, v p01, and now v changes between 0 to 1. What did I get? These are points in 3D, but what do they get when I set u equals to 0 and let v varies? I just took the points p00, p01, and created the line segment between them. Cool with everybody? Creating u equal. I fixed u to be 0. I created a line segment that connected. Connect these 2 points. Similarly, take u to be 1 and do the same trick. V is changing in the same condition, and now you're getting the segment connecting. The segment between, since u equal 1, this dies, and this dies, it got 1 minus v, 1 minus v p10 plus v p11. What did I get? The other segment. So by picking v equals 0, I create this segment, creating v equal 1, I get this segment, and now if I'll change the rules of u and v, I'll create the other 2 segments. And essentially, the moment that you are fixing v, fix v, and change u between 0 and 1, what did you create? You create a piece of a linear, of a line. You create a line segment. No matter what is v, you created a line segment. I think that it's cool. Similarly, fix v and change u, you're getting a line segment. So if it's only pieces of line, does it mean that the whole bilinear patch is planar? I'm only using pieces of lines, right? Or line segments that connect the points from this side to this side. Does it need to be all planar? Not necessarily. Even though it's a combination of lines, it doesn't need to be flat. Agree? Unless the if the 4 points happens to be coplanar, then yeah, it's planar shape. But in general, not necessarily. And remember this term, the bilinear. It's not the only case that we saw bilinear function. In this course, we saw bilinear interpolation. Here it's bilinear interpolation in u and v, given the x, y, z of the 4 points. So that was a bilinear patch. So I can create a roof using these straight strings. Think that it's cool, but it's nice. And now I can create, wait, well, I don't have a picture of it. Sorry, I lost the picture. And I lost the GeoGebra. Now, so take my rule now for v between 1 and 2, take these 2 points and add another 2 points, and you have another bilinear patch, and another, and another, and another. So you can create a whole roof using bilinear patches that meet each other, because if my next bilinear patches use these 2 points plus another one, then the 2 bilinear patches, what they both share, we don't have any holes between them because both of them meet at a common segment. But 2 neighboring bilinear patches will meet each other in a segment without any holes. Well, smoothness is too much to hope for, but at least you don't have holes between one patch to the next patch. You can create a whole sphere that make each other using such bilinear patches. Okay? Everybody took the exam. Question about the exam. I think that people lost me a bit. It's, I think, my fault. Here is a polygon, and I have my sun and illumination of this polygon, and I want it to look polygonal, like think about cubism, if you like. If you like Picasso, think about that you want to highlight that Picasso is actually polygonal apple, or that the soccer consists of polygonal. Should I use Guard or Fong interpolation? Like I got a good answers, but somehow people overlook about the purpose. I want it to look polygonal. Should I use Guard/Fong or not? Fong interpolation or not? Not the Fong of the specular reflection.
If you want it to look like to see all the polygons, or if you don't want to?
If I do want it to look polygonal,
then
polytop actually.
You would use Gerard.
You don't want to, right?
No, on the contrary.
Oh,
I
because you
will
flat
just
shape.
use for every surface, I will use its overall normal. What if I do want it, it is a polynomial, polygonal thing, but has billions of triangles. I also don't need these tricks. When do I need the tricks? When do I use either Guard or Fong? It is if, for memory reasons, computational reasons, I use a relatively small number of triangles, polygons, but I want it to look smooth to the viewer, to create the impression that it's smooth, that it's rounded, even though in terms of computational effort, there is only few triangles out there. So it's not always that Fong is more accurate than Guard. It's depending on what you want to get by it. It's you'll see the specular reflection if there is specular reflection on the sphere that you are trying to mimic, not on the polygon itself. Okay, back to bilinear patches. Everybody understand how from a single bilinear patch I can place nearby bilinear patches and they'll all still connected? No holes. Next bilinear patch, we use 2 points and these 2 points. So they meet each other along a segment. Now, it can be that they are creating a roof that is very steep. That's fine. Right. These 2 bilinear patches might be this, and that's the only segment that they are connected by, and it's anything but smooth along this corner. And bilinear patches by themselves don't guarantee smoothness. If you want smoothness, then let's see the general methods to work with smoothness. I have my control points. For example, I can use Hermite polynomial, I can use a Bezier in this case. And the QAJ are my control points. And some of them I insist to be on the surface itself. Some of my control points needs to be on the surface itself. Some of the QAJ are control points. That's where you are the designer. Decide to put one of these points. What happened here and here These are two Bezier curves, but one depends on U, one depends on V. Meaning that you're creating one patch that will gracefully coincide and will be smooth with the next patch, with the next patch, with the next patch, and so on for the other dimension as well. So you assign a grid of control points, and now you can define the whole surface. Our next topic will discuss cooler but less realistic ways to control surfaces as well. But everybody understand what's going on? Again, think about this experiment of set V to 0. Set V to 0, you're only looking at one row of control points, and now when V0, you're changing U, you're creating one curve. So think about it as there is, for one particular U, for U equals 0, you will create this one curve, and for U equals 0.1, you'll create some other curve, slightly deeper, U equal 0.2. Another curve more in this direction, and so on until you're getting a curve that happens at U equals 1 all the way there, and then yours. But now these patches nicely coincide with each other, and it's all smooth and convenient. So what did we do? We had one Bezier curve multiplied by another Bezier curve. Notice that one is Bezier curve with V, one is Bezier curve with U, and now only the control points out here. And that's confusing. Once again, we are summing up a lot of polynomials, maybe 100 by 100 such polynomials, but almost all of them are 0 unless they are working on the points that are relevant. It doesn't express here, even though this expression has all the million points. At every particular U and V, there is only 4 or 8 of them that are non-zero. Exactly the same behavior that we saw on the, exactly the same behavior that we saw in the B-spline. Okay, now in this whole family of surfaces, here are a few that are more friendly, I think. I want to describe again the skin SUV, the skin of the shape. How do I do it? I'll take one B-spline, Bezier, Hermite, whichever. That's A of U, that's B of U, and A of U, B of U, fixed U, and now change V between 0 and 1. This is fixed, point in 3D. This is fixed because you fixed U, point in 3D. What are you doing when you have V and 1 minus V? You're creating a straight line segment connecting them. Okay, keeping U fixed and change V, you're connecting the point A of U to B of U, and pick V to be 1, say, you have a point that is moving along this curve. Putting U 0, you have a curve that moves along this curve. And that can give rise to a lot of geometric shapes, like architecture really likes it. For example, how do I generate this shape? Help you. A of U is cosine U, that's a X, that's a Y, and 10 just means that this upper cylinder, upper wing is at z equals 10. So when I'm changing u, there is a point that moves on the upper wing over here. And let's make an attempt. Let b of u be cosinus u sinus u 0. So now it's a point that moves on the lower ring, that points on the lower ring right here. What is a shape what is SUV? SUV what is the shape that I create? It has a name. Do I create this shape?
Coke can. Cylinder.
Cylinder. I agree. For this writing, what do I get? I'm connecting a point here to the point which is vertical below it, right here. They are both moving together, and then you are using the V to connect between them. So in this case, you are getting a cylinder. Cylinder, I don't know if it's formally a cylinder, it doesn't have the top and bottom, but it's at least around it, it's a cylinder. How do I create this shape over here?
Would you just have like an offset on the angle going into one of the cosine sine functions?
And moving the other one by some constant alpha. So one fly moves here, one fly moves here. They have the same speed, but they are not exactly starting at 0 at the same time. One has an offset that makes it start easier. For example, if alpha there is pi, alpha is 180 degrees, then the shape will be just two cones connected to each other. This is an example of a bridge somewhere in Jerusalem that consists of one straight beam and one bridge to circulate around it. And this beam holds the weight of the bridge. It's kind of nice and aesthetic, and all the cables around it connect points on the beam to points on the circular bridge. So, okay, next animal in this shape of surfaces. Surface of revolution, we were all waiting for it. How do I create it? I will start by creating one curve beta of u. Any of the curves that you had in mind that we saw so far will work. And beta of u, based on its control, I will make sure that all its control points lie on the xz plane, and the xz plane. The whole curve lies in the xz plane. Z goes up, x goes this way, and y goes your direction. So when I describe beta of u, I need to describe it x coordinate, which is beta sub x. I need to describe its z coordinate, beta sub x, beta sub z is a z coordinate, and its y coordinates are always 0. That's a curve that I start with. What would be my curve at the end? I will tell you that what does beta sub x tells me for any particular x is how far away from the z-axis I am. Beta sub x of u tells me right now you're on the z-axis. Right now you are this distance away, this distance away, this distance away, and so that's what beta sub x is. Let's remember. 17 times cosine u sinus u. What is the shapes that I just created? Everybody should know. U changes between 0 and 2 pi. What did I create? A circle of radius 17. So beta sub x is a radius at my particular u. Why don't I use it as a function of z? Because maybe the shapes that I want to create is a surface of revolution of something like this. This is a curve that I want to create. I don't know that there will be only one value for each lex. That's why I want to have it implicit. So that's beta u, use it over here. That's a radius for this particular u. And now cosine v sinus v, just do what? Makes a ring out of it, all at the same height. How do I know what's the height? How do I know how high is this ring on the z direction? Beta of z tells me how high is the whole ring. Good. Everybody understand the math behind it? And it kind of suggests also a pattern matching, as if you want to, to assign it with a texture and you use the UV to stick a texture out of it. It's not exactly how you expect because it doesn't necessarily maintain distances, which the texture should do, but as a first iteration, it's fine. Questions, Balti? Excellent. Thank you. Question about anything else, by the way? I didn't ask at the beginning. Yes.
What was the average on the midterm after all graded?
I still didn't do the whole math,
Okay.
and I still don't end it. And it's 2 midterms, so I can go. The second midterm I thought was, I double check, and average is lying, but I can tell you the median. It's not but,
Do you have the
like, not by heart, don't want to.
Did we all do good? Are you proud?
I'll give you a more specific question about specific thing that I thought that people should know. All in all, yeah. I mean, we are not, we lost over here, but much fewer students are here now than started the year, and I think that the ones that are here are because some level of motivation, either for the grade or for the topic or the combination. But the ones that we have in this group, I think that are very good students.
How many people are in the course? Because I just assumed like a lot of people weren't coming, but is it just like
Close to 20 at the moment.
okay, there's about
Yeah.
20?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I always write that I expect everybody to come to almost all the classes, and I never really do anything, and I don't think that I'll start this semester. So we have one athlete that is in the running team, so
Okay. Are you having office hours this week?
sure, or a different time, or Zoom. Yeah,
Okay.
any one of the days, or I'll be around tomorrow.
Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday.
So,
Before and after.
sure, happy to help. If it's time dependent, we can do it tomorrow.
That's it.
No, just this week.
Okay. Yeah,
Just to
a-
go over some of the stuff
Yeah,
talked
send
about
text.
today.
I'll send you a text.
Yeah.
Against your PDR.
But I have to like form questions. Yeah, thank you so much.
If it's very quick, you can try.
No, because it's
maybe
like, I was
Really good right
confused
now.
about a lot, but it's like, I think I need to go over the textbook first and then C.
I don't remember seeing you last meeting. Oh, no, I did see you, so.
I keep
Yeah,
moving
yeah,
things.
you did. And you know, the recording are now, it's first on Twitch and then I move it to the YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much, Professor.
Sure. Hey,
I'm still here.
not too tired? Not too...
Yeah, sometimes I have to rush on, but today I'm like,
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Just a
so I was trying to do the reverse visibility,
Mhm.
just not getting it working yet. I think my logic's right, but it's, I'm still debugging it. Haven't got it working. But what I was trying to do is start with the top. I'll pick somewhere in the middle, not too far at the end, and then find the longest street by looking at do I have common visibility points, like if the visibility overlap from the starting point to the ending point, if the visibility overlap, that means I have a common guard. And then get the longest one, but I have to check several directions. And
Sure, I
then
thought that we'll
keep
start
doing it until I hit the bottom, but it's running really slow. I don't know what I'm doing wrong yet. And I got the GPU to set up, but GPU doesn't, the algorithm in the implementation of the visibility that I got from Franklin, when I try to run it on GPU, it's like really slow. It doesn't like the way it's done. So I still have to figure out how to take advantage of the GPU to make it run faster.
So,
It's actually slower than CPU. That's the sad part.
well, we didn't. So, you had many questions in one sentence. So
Sure.
let's slowly break it. So I thought that we'll start with the street map. And I need to show you how to compute for the street. It's reversed. And then we are doing intersection. We'll decide that the path, at least, is y monotone. Let's say going down. But
Yeah.
it can go left to right, left to right.
Right now I'm limited to have to go down, because when I let it go all the directions, it would just, what it was doing was walking around the border. I think my map happened to be, it would just go all the way to the end and then stop. Didn't seem to be what I want. So I let it go down. If it goes down, then it could go right down, left down, or straight down.
So I think that we'll start with a map. I mean, to see that the method makes sense, we'll start with a street map, but that has all the normal street map, but will require that the path only go down. That it can go left, right as many times as it wants, but that at least it is a DAG. I cannot show you how not to need it, but at the moment let's do it.
So if I have a street map ahead of time, then it would just be like a traveling salesman type of
No, because
walking,
I still,
right?
no. Because you still want to do intersection between the F0 and the region that sees the street. The direction is that if you remember the alpha and the beta that we had earlier, that we are only computing the visibility for the street, and now maybe don't need it, but at the moment at least I ask everybody, all the guards that sees up to the higher point intersection with all the guards that sees around the point. I mean, it will be easier to first describe what algorithm that we want to implement in this context. It also can run it with Josh. I like his input, and I guess owe him a big thanks for the section. But let's stay focused on what we want to do.
Right.
Now is good time. You're not tired.
Well, I did everything else that I.
Now is good time. You're not tired.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
I mean, I kind of ran out of ideas. You know, I did the machine learning. Also, GPU didn't seem to help.
But
did a lot of work to try to get it to run on GPU.
No, but well, we need to discuss what we want the GPU to do fast, and I really don't want heuristics that looks at this street or another street, because so no heuristics about the street. Our only assumption is that at the moment that it's going down, or at least it's a done.
So focus to do we want to talk about the original algorithm, the BSF, to run in the GPU? Let's start with that first.
It's a very different algorithm.
Right.
So it is a BFS, but it's BFS on the sky, and it's all done by intersections and intersection and union of sets.
Right.
And
so
that's where I thought that.
So you're still talking about the reverse visibility.
Yes, but I'm afraid that we are not talking about exactly the same algorithm.
So we didn't really define the algorithm.
Let's slowly discuss an option of the algorithm, then try to think if it makes sense at all.
Right. Yeah.
So the GPU will handle much faster triangles as a terrain or approximation. But that's not the reason that I wanted you to have GPU. What I do need is actually the stencil buffer and the accumulation buffer, which would mean that I can take two images and add them to each other, and that hopefully will work much faster in constant time to add two images to each other.
So that's pretty much what I was doing. So in the GPU, instead of NumPy array, I used the CUDA array. So supposedly doing that will make all the addition, intersection of the two bitmap be faster, but I'm not really seeing that.
We have, it's a bitmap, which means that we can have 64 or so pixels. When we do the intersection, it takes constant time. Like for 64 pixels, so you think about it as images, as the whole images. Maybe it's the same for the CUDA. Just but that's a part that of pushing things into the color buffer or into the stencil buffer and reading the results.
I think I need to modify quite a bit, because right now I think the code doesn't, how to say, well, maybe it does, I don't know. I couldn't really tell. I'm really new to this GPU thing. I couldn't really tell it looks like it is doing something in GPU, something in CPU. So whenever I use the CUDA array, the CuPy array, it is pushing it to the GPU. But I'm just not sure why it's not running faster. I must be doing something wrong. So I'm doing the intersection, and like we talked about, to try to find
union.
and union. All the arrays are NumPy arrays, so they all got converted to CuPy arrays. So it should be fast.
Which O?
Which what?
What is this?
That is the Python implementation of the array matrix or array manipulation. I mean, array calculations on GPU. So what I found is, if I were using
talking about Python, or are you talking about GPU?
GPU, yeah. So Python has a library that will allow me to do the array manipulation in the GPU. I could tell it to go to the GPU, so it looks like it's doing it, but I'm not sure.
But we are missing a lot of the speed if we don't explicitly say use the accumulating buffer, I think.
That's what I need to find out. I only got it started. Yeah. And also on the machine learning side, when I call the function, I can tell it to use the GPU device. But that doesn't, not until I can solve the problem with all the other algorithm, the visibility algorithm and the BSF, whatever, because my machine learning has a loop, I have to calculate, I have to move the guards and then calculate the visibility and then do the BSF. I mean, calculate the intersection, the connectivity, connected graph, and then do a BSF. So all these steps, they all have to run efficiently on the GPU for me to gain any efficiency running on the GPU. So it's not just a simple matrix calculation. So I'm finding out, for some reason, the visibility, even the visibility calculation is taking way longer on the GPU.
But how do you know what's the visibility of a street?
Huh?
How do you know what is the visibility of a street?
So right now what I'm doing is that start from point 1 to the next point in the neighborhood, start from that, and then if this guy look up in the sky with a certain radius, I default 120 or something. Look at this circle. If it's not blocked, I see the entire circle. If something is blocked, I'll see a subset, right? A funny shape. And then the next point does the same thing, and then if the two visibility in the sky intersect, that means I have a little strip. That means I have a shared position that I could put a guard that can see both points, right? So I keep moving the second point further and further down to still have an intersection of the visibility in the sky. So if there is still visibility intersection between point A and point B,
it wouldn't
that
hurt us.
I'm every
I don't want to be negative, but
no, I'm tell me what what I should do. I'm just trying my attempt to get it kind of working, but I don't think that's really correct. think last time when we talked, I did mention, you know, just because point A and starting point and end point share a common guard position, there could be something in between that blocks it.
And you're absolutely right about it.
Right, and that's why
I corrected, and I think that you're right about, okay. So, so the whole, there is a direction that we will have intersection between sets or quadries and then the accumulation buffer. And I thought about this algorithm only as graphics parts. I didn't think about going through the CUDA. Now, and maybe it's a mistake on my side, but I thought about it as purely graphics. Relations between images bitwise, at the moment bitwise images, at the later we will have images with every pixel is a little Bloom filter that suggests some dart that are relevant. But let's see how, at least I'll tell you my deal. So far, the